Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Jack of all trades here, and today I wanted to make an interesting video about two imaginary heroes. They're basically kind of like superheroes or whatnot, and I just thought it would be interesting to talk about, because what if these two guys actually fought? Now, on one hand, you've got Superman, the superhero that everybody pretty much knows since, the beginning of time. And on the other hand, you've got Dr. Manhattan. Now, some of you guys may not know who Dr. Manhattan is, and Dr. Manhattan is basically the guy, like, if you've seen Watchmen, he's the blue guy. And quite frankly, I think this would be a great matchup, and to be honest, I think this is one of the only times that if Superman were to face another being, so to speak, that he would lose absolutely, like, he would lose badly. And I've got absolutely nothing against Superman. I absolutely love the character, especially in the comics, and especially if he's portrayed correctly. I love him. I love how they portrayed him in Smallville, although you only saw him in the last episode. But I love the character of Clark Kent as long as he's done correctly. And on the other hand, you've got, obviously, Dr. Manhattan. Now, I'm going to basically compare these two guys, with all their abilities and weaknesses and such. And basically, in the end, I just think that Dr. Manhattan would actually end up winning. And it's pretty interesting because I didn't really know anything about him until I saw Watchmen in 2009. Never heard of him. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, wow. Like, ever since I saw that movie, I was like, wow, maybe this guy could beat Superman. So I kind of looked up his abilities in the comic books and all that kind of stuff, strengths, weaknesses, and what have you. And of course, I did the same thing with Superman, because Superman's full strength is never really portrayed in movies, or even sometimes even in the comic books. But I got their strengths and weaknesses right here, and I just thought I'd compare and contrast. And at the same time, in the end, you guys can let me know who you think would win if they would fight, or somehow maybe Superman could actually manage to pull off a victory. After reading everything and seeing both seeing the characters in their own movies and whatnot, I don't know. I think Dr. Manhattan would take the cake on this one. But let's check these two guys out first. Let's pick them apart. Now, first you've obviously got Superman, okay, and these are his powers and abilities listed, okay? Solar energy absorption, superhuman strength, invulnerability, superhuman speed, flight, healing factor, super stamina, endurance, durability, agility, and reflexes, super senses, super intelligence, super memory, multilingualism, telekinesis, longevity, and solar flare. And he is weak to basically kryptonite. There's all sorts of forms of kryptonite. There's ones that mess with his brain, like red kryptonite, that kind of mess with his decision making or whatnot and his morals. And then there's the most common kryptonite, which is the green kryptonite, which basically makes him very weak and could potentially kill him. And depending on the writer of the comic or whatever other media, like a movie or an animated movie or episode or something like that, it really just depends on the writer to make kryptonite as powerful as it is, or weaker. And there's a gold kryptonite, which if he touches it, he basically loses all his powers and he's no different than a human being. And there's plenty more out there, but he's basically vulnerable to forms of kryptonite. He's also vulnerable to magic and red sun radiation. And that is pretty much Superman in a nutshell. He's also got super breath and a few other things, but pretty much in a nutshell, that's Superman. So let's go on and go over Dr. Manhattan. Now, Dr. Manhattan is actually very, very unique. The thing is, he was human once. He was a scientist, actually, and basically what ended up happening is he basically accidentally locked himself in a room when trying to get his watch that basically experimented. It was a room where they were experimenting with electricity or whatnot, and he basically, the door locked in on him, and obviously couldn't open it, and basically he just electrocuted it. He was basically electrocuted into nothing, and then he just disappeared and reformed as this blue spirit looking like being that basically is invulnerable to everything and can pretty much do almost anything. Well, not almost anything, but let's just go into it, okay? All right, now here goes. Throughout Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan is shown to be immensely powerful and seemingly invulnerable to all harm. Even when his body is disintegrated, he can reconstruct it in atoms, and in less than a minute, the second time this happened. So he can basically do this. He could basically reconstruct himself in less than a minute, even if he's been disintegrated, which is pretty impressive. He's got complete awareness and control over atomic and subatomic particles. He can alter his body size, coloration, density, strength. He does not need food, water, air, and for all intents and purposes, he's pretty much immortal. He can teleport himself and others over great, even interplanetary and perhaps interstellar distances. His near limitless powers are further amplified in comparison to the apparent lack of any other superpowered individuals. And the thing is, he can't be threatened. Basically, even the world's smartest man can't even threaten him. And according to his words, the world's smartest man poses no more threat to me than does its smartest termite. So basically, there's no difference between there being other smart men or more powerful men out there that are any threat to him more than an ant, basically. In addition to these powers, John is able to phase any part of his body through solid objects without damaging them, produce multiple copies of himself which function independently of each other, project destructive energy, disintegrate people, possibly removing their intrinsic fields, which causes the target to come apart from the inside explosively, create force fields, transmute and create matter, move objects without physically touching them, which is basically telekinesis, reverse entropy, and he suggests to create life and walk the surface of the sun. So at one point it is stated that in the event of a nuclear war, he would be capable of destroying upwards of 99% of the Soviet nuclear missiles, while at the same time destroying large areas of Russia. As a result of these capabilities, John, which was his name before he became Dr. Manhattan, he becomes central. He actually becomes essential to the United States Cold War strategy and defense. So, and he also has a non-linear perception of time. He sees past, present, and future simultaneously, although he doesn't claim omniscience. Now, his weaknesses. Now, Adrian Veidt, who is another character of Watchmen, who's basically the smartest man on the planet, was able to disintegrate him by subtracting Dr. Manhattan's intrinsic field, but even then he was able to reassemble himself in moments. So his only definite technical weakness appears to be tachyons, which are basically large bursts of them can jam or slow his ability to see the future to a large extent, as well as temporarily confusing his perception of the present time. But still, his telekinetic powers were unaffected. So that tachyons exist in a theoretical physics. So with no compiling evidence of their existence so far, he basically has no weaknesses. So with all this said, and I had to read all this stuff out because, quite frankly, there was it was just explained. I had to make sure I had everything out there for both Superman and Dr. Manhattan. And the thing is, if these two monsters were to actually clash in an all-out fight, basically Dr. Manhattan wins as easily as Superman would beat Batman in a fight. And I am the biggest Batman fan in the world. I love Batman more than any other superhero. He is absolutely my favorite. And there is a small part of me that believes that Batman could have a really good impact in a fight against Superman because of the fact that there's always a plan and all this other things. Batman always has a plan, and there's been things that he can come up with, and the thing is, I'm not really going to go into it all that much because that's not what this video is about, but in actuality, in a full-on fight of fists and legs and just skill, Batman would lose to Superman without Superman breaking a sweat. And I also believe that he could basically, Dr. Manhattan would beat the shit out of Superman in a one-on-one fight just as easily as Superman could beat Batman. And whenever I say Superman could beat Batman easily, it's painful to say as a Batman fan, but the reality is that Batman would not win. And honestly, I believe that the same thing would happen in this fight, that Dr. Manhattan would basically beat Superman with just, you know, basically flicking his finger, basically, because of all the different things he can do. And by the way, in short note, if you guys haven't seen Watchmen at all, I highly recommend you watch it. It's a rated R alternate 1985 reality of a superhero movie. It's got its own uniqueness to it. I recommend you watch it. It's one of Zack Snyder's best movies, in my opinion. The effects are great. The movie's great. And down in the comments below, I want you guys to let me know, who do you think would win? And who would your dream matchup be of these ultimate superheroes, so to speak? And that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. My name is Jack of All Trades. I'll see you guys on the next video.